car of Stenhouse because he's not taken his 1 minute stop-go penalty.
I would imagine the stationary period is about 1 minute and 44 seconds in reality. All of the cars will have to remain stationary. So green flag at the back, red lights come on, Darren Goes and Mark Flower on the front row of the grid, and when the lights go out, it's a great start from the rear engine Porsche in the hands of Simon Clark. Unsurprising, a slow start from Darren Goes, the rear wheel drive BMW getting away very well in the hands of Mark Flower, and it will be Mark Flower that leads him up towards Paddack Hill Bend for the first time, with Simon Clark's Porsche there in second place. Darren Goes in the Mangoes Racing Seat in third position, and it's going to be James Britton, isn't it, that's there in fourth place, with fifth and sixth being disputed by the look of things. That looks as though it is that Kester Cook? Yeah, it is Kester Cook in the Ford Fiesta going side by side with Ryan Steele. Kester Cook will have the inside line now as they come into the braking area for what is Graham Hill Bend. So it is Mark Flower that's out front and leading the race. Everybody largely safely through the first couple of corners. I say largely because on the grass, still trying to recover, is Gary Burstow trying to get his BMW back off the grass and onto the tarmac.
Yeah, I think that was a panicky moment as he went plunging down the hill and suddenly get it onto the grass, which is probably not the easiest place to therefore stop your car when you're out on the grass, is it? But he managed it. He probably just needs to get his heart rate calmed back down again now.
Skin of teeth and arm twirling, yes, absolutely. Kind of shuffling the order because it now looks like Darren Goes has managed to get himself ahead of Simon Clark's Porsche Boxster. So the Seat is up into second, so it's BMW from Seat from Porsche.
It's not very often you get to say something like that. What a lovely mix of cars. I mean, it's just such a bunch of them as well. They absolutely filled Hellwood Hill there, but all nice and cleanly through, which is good to see. You often sort of wonder how this many tin tops are going to perform. Second time we've seen it today in a different championship, and they've done it cleanly. Heading towards us, it's a little bit greyer out there, isn't it? Doesn't look like there's any moisture, and long may that continue. But first of all, look at this. They come down towards us, and it is still just about the BMW of Mark Flower, car number 8, that has the lead, but only for a little while, is it? Oh, I thought that he already had the inside. I thought that Darren Goes in that Seat Cup was going to slice up the inside. He's already lining up Flower. Is he going to be able to dive up the inside? How late can he brake? Later than the BMW is the answer, but not late enough to get himself up the inside. But he's still got himself positioned, ready for Druids to be able to make the move. And it looks like even for third as well, that I think that Britain's going to be making a move on the Porsche.
Yeah, so we've had the shuffle in the order, haven't we? As Druid into the lead of the race goes Darren, with second place Mark Flower. Despite having the pedal to the metal, Mark Flower could not hang on to the lead of the race, could he? Up to third position now comes the car in the hands of James Britton. Down to fourth, therefore goes the Porsche Boxster, the fast starting Simon Clark. Kester Cook still squabbling away, isn't he, in the lead hatchback in reality, as he is trying to keep at bay the aspirations of the black Citroën Saxo in the hands of Ryan Steele, but it is still Fiesta from Citroën for fifth and sixth position, and I make that's what, 6, 7. That's 7 different manufacturers represented inside the top 7.
Exactly, perfect, and as I say, beautifully presented as well, to be fair to them. But another car that's moved up quite a few positions on the opening lap, number 105, Anthony Sidney Willett, in that rather intriguing looking Xenos. He started down in 9th position, he's up to 7th already. He in qualifying clearly had some kind of issue because he only came out for a few laps at the end of qualifying, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Another car that's moved up well through the order is a light green Clio in the hands of Andrew Modica. He started 40th. He's now up into 30th position, so 10 places gained in the first lap of car number 33. Keep an eye on that one.
He was very late, wasn't he? And then
very slow and then disappeared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great performance. And look at that, not only has Darren Goes got into the lead in that gorgeous-looking Seat Cup, but he's already managing to pull away and leave Flower behind. And in fact, Flower's going to need to be wary of Britton just behind him. James Britton, who started 6th position, is now already putting a challenge in towards that second place. Not quite close enough to make a move there, but he doesn't half close up under braking as they get to Paddack Hill Bend for the third time, and he's getting himself positioned as they head up Hellwood Hill towards Druids, not quite able to get himself alongside, and Mark Flower made sure that door was shut without it being over firmly there, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. You could say Flower stems the attack, couldn't you, from James Britton, as they now work their way through into the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend, and as they now head down Cooper Straight, it's still Mark Flower from James Britton, and then Simon Clark's Porsche Boxster not that far away. Kester Cook with the Fiesta still keeping at bay Ryan Steele, and it's Anthony Sidney Willett at the wheel of the Xenos, and then we've got the slightly newer BMW, car number 66 that is, which is Christopher Mills for the first part of this race, fighting away with Alistair Stenhouse, and completing the top 6 is the Seat Leon in the hands of what will be Mike Morais. that sits there completing the top 10. We'll pick out on the class winners and class leaders a little bit later on. 45-minute race. The pit stop window opens 15 minutes into this race. We've got 40 minutes to go, so 10 before the pit window opens. Race leader is on his third lap of the race and now has over a second advantage between himself and the BMW.
Yeah, and it looked as though Britain was kind of compromised from attempting to make a move on Flower, isn't he? Because as they disappeared out of sight, he dropped away. It looks like car number 55, I think that is, that stopped over there. He'd clearly been having all sorts of issues, and it had no windscreen, and it looks like they still hadn't put a windscreen in. And it's pulled up just before they get to Graham Hill Bend. But here come our leaders. It is still Darren Goes in the Seat Cup. He's still in the lead and just stretching his legs at the front of this race as he goes. It was no problem that he lost those positions off the start because he's made them up. But Flower needs to be very wary of Britain just behind him. That number 82, the blue BMW, is now putting massive pressure. And I think just taking a watching brief at the moment is Simon Clark in that Porsche Boxster, number 23. I don't think he feels a need to get involved at the moment and let those two get stuck into each other, and he can pick up the pieces.
Yeah, he's just sitting on the coattails, isn't he, of the blue BMW in the hands of James Britton that occupies the final podium place at this stage. And all of that squabbling is allowing Kester Cook, for my money, to begin to close in. Let's just have a look at the relative lap times.
Half a second quicker.
Yeah, I thought the Ford Fiesta was closing in. It doesn't matter where you look there are some fantastic fights going on down through the order. I'm looking at a very busy part of the circuit, down through the bottom of Paddack Hill Bend and up Halewood Hill in towards Druids at the moment. May well be cars that are fighting for places mid-teens, but they're absolutely together.
Yeah, just looking at the one of your favourite cars there coming through, the Beetle 1 of 2. I forgot to look at that one, but I know the black Beetle is actually a left hooker. It's a left-hand drive.
It's Ian Humpish's old car, I think, that used to race up in the Darlington District Motor Club Northern Car Championship.
Okay, it's got to be a new challenge to drive a left-handed. The black one that's coming through here, left-hand drive. So quite a challenge for him in that one.
It's Beetle with the correct number on as well, isn't it? For the 53.
Yes, absolutely. And get away with it because it's not got a particular livery on it. So there we go. But we wait to see the leaders come back into our sight, and we expect it to still be the green, white, black Seat Cup of Darren Goes, assuming nothing's happened out of our sight. And how much more has he stretched his legs at the front? It was 1 3/4 second lead. Here he comes, and in fact it's the Porsche Boxster in fourth that's making a challenge for third this time, but then it tends to change once they get onto the power, onto the start-finish straight. Through goes our leader with another fastest lap of the race. It is Darren Goes. That's now just over 3 seconds the lead, but my goodness, second, third, fourth, throw a handkerchief onto the track and they'd all gather it up, I think. And as you've rightly called it, the 93 car, Kester Cook, that Ford Fiesta, it is just closing onto the back of them, and they need to be wary of the nimbleness of that Fiesta, I think.
Yeah, it's a very quick car, Kester Cook's, of course. It runs in Class S, as does our race leader Darren Goes. So Class S caters for those cars with, in terms of brake horsepower per tonne, somewhere between 200 and 225. There's a deep intake of breath.
Yeah, it was already that Fiesta. Kester Cook is lining up the Porsche Boxster. There's a sentence you never expect to say, isn't it? For a move, but straight away the Simon Clark Porsche Boxster just moved to the inside line, so that by the time they got to Surtees, he would have that covered off. Otherwise, there was enough of a run there for the Fiesta of Kester Cook to make a move. And in fact, as they're coming into our view, which way round is it at the moment? Again, a very defensive line by the Porsche Boxster off Simon Clark as they went through, what was that? That was Hawthorns, wasn't it? The right-hander of Hawthorns. So he's having to cover it off, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, absolutely. As the car of Simon Clark having to just defend from Kester Cook, who certainly looks as though he is hugely keen to try and gain a place here. Couldn't quite work his way through out on the back section of the circuit. We await the arrival of our race leader again, and it won't be that much longer before we see Darren Goes squirt himself back into sight. Here he comes now, up towards Clearways, on towards what is Clark Curve. 36 minutes of the race to go. Darren Goes leads the race. It is Mark Flower there in second place, James Britton in third. The order still remains the same, with Simon Clark there in fourth position. As yet, Kester Cook hasn't found the recipe to try and claim fourth place. So
Three.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. He sits there in fifth. Ryan Steele completes the top six.
Yeah, Ryan Steele has indeed closed right up on that, and I think that's not surprising that the front three in that group were already tripping over each other. Kester Cook had joined in, was trying to desperately make a move on Simon Clark's Porsche Boxster, and that just kind of made them slow up enough for Ryan Steele to get that Saxo back onto terms with them. That said, let's not lose sight of the fact that Ryan Steele qualified in fourth position, so he's got the speed in that Saxo, but I'm sure I remember in qualifying it took a little while for him to get it up to that speed. So are we seeing the same again in this race? 45-minute race, you can't win it on the first lap.
No, absolutely, long way to go yet, 5 minutes before the window opens. There's a great fight going on for the last place inside the top 20. The Apple-supported Renault Clio in the hands of Ray Honeybone, squabbling away with the Ford Focus in the hands of Paul Hatton. They're just working their way downhill towards the braking area for the left-hander at Paddack Hill Bend. They've been pretty much inseparable for the last few laps, but it is Ray Honeybone at the wheel of the Apple Car Centre Clio that hangs on to 20th, and Paul Hatton in the Focus is in 21st currently.
And they need to make sure that doesn't get messy because they're right opposite each other down in the paddock, so it's a little bit close if it goes awry. Someone clearly went slightly awry coming through Clark Curve, because everybody sat on the spectator bank on the outside is probably spluttering and clearing their eyes back out again, because a big dust of gravel trap sand went puffing all the way over them, but by the time we saw it, no one was there, so they obviously just ran a bit wide and powered through. Talking of powered through, here comes our leader again for the 6th time. It's still Darren Goes in that Seat Cup, just pulling away at the front. Yeah.
We've had to sort of change, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
Fourth. Yeah, it looks as though it is the car now in the hands of Kester Cook, who has gained a position. He's got himself ahead of the Porsche Boxster and is now looking to try, 2 places gained, trying to close in on the car of Mark Flower ahead. So Cook looking to try and add a bit of flour, is he?
No, seriously, that was a bit too tenuous, that one. But it's really Britain, number 82, in that blue BMW that lost out, because he lost the positions to Kester Cook and the Porsche Boxster of Simon Clark. Simon Clark lost the 1 position, which by laws of average, that means Kester Cook's made up another 2. So he started 7th on the grid, and he's now sat there in 3rd position, an overall podium, and in fact that is a class podium as well. So he's going to be pleased with that after the grid start of, what's that, the 4th row that he started on. And you wouldn't discount him, threatening even further if he can get onto the tails of Flower, who he is lapping quicker than.
The 2 MR2s absolutely side by side heading through Paddack Hill Bend. That is Colin Tester, and he will be squabbling away with Callum McDougall's car. Callum McDougall's car is the one that's almost got the Martini stripe down the centre, so McDougall hanging on to it. Colin Tester are looking to attack and having to defend at the same time, because he has got the Renault Clio sitting directly behind him. That will be the car in the hands of Ollie Owen, won't it? And where are they squabbling for? There, he places down in, that will be a fight for 23rd, 24th, 25th and 26th position. Will include the blue Renault Clio, number 57 as well, went in hands of James Littlewood.
We did suspect that this was going to be the case, didn't we? It looks like the Beatles trying to make a move up the inside there, and they're going side by side all the way up Hellwood Hill. So it is, as always, the battles. Now, the interesting thing is that the leaders are starting to put laps on those that are actually having their own battles. Look at this, Kester Cook in 3rd position in that silver Ford Fiesta is without question closing on the 2nd place BMW of number 8 Flower. So Mark Flower needs to be aware that that Fiesta is approaching. And it looks like we've got a change now for 4th, because the 82 blue BMW's managed to get past the Simon Clark Porsche Boxster. I wonder whether the Porsche had a bit of an incident, because not only has Britain passed him, but he's left him behind as well.
Yeah, he really has dropped away, hasn't he now, Simon Clark, as Simon Clark is still trying to squeeze his way past what is Perry Tubbs' Proton Satra in a straight line, the Pertex supported machine that currently runs right the way down in 39th position out of the 40 cars that we've got there.
Oh.
And what have we got? So we are off into the
Someone
gravel
else.
trap.
Yeah.
We've lost one.
That's number 10. So that is actually Ryan Steele. We said that he'd be moving his way up. We were so glued to the battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th coming past us that we missed the fact that that's a key one, and I can't quite make out whether he's made contact with the tyres or not. I think he may have done, just gone a little bit further than just the gravel there. So, are we going to see a safety car in that position, or are they going to be happy that it's far enough away from the track? It's borderline, isn't it?
Fingers crossed that it's far enough away from the track. We've only got, a minute and 20 seconds before the pit window opens, and the last thing he wants is a safety car just as the pit window opens, because then everybody would just pour into the pits, and the pit window then largely becomes irrelevant. It would become a very busy pit lane now, wouldn't it?
Just a bit.
Darren Goes is on his 8th lap of the race, and is about to come over the start-finish line now to try and put a lap on another squabble that's going on towards the tail end of the field. The Volkswagen Beetle busy squabbling away with the number 9 Renault Clio, and that Clio will have Stephen Kelly behind the wheel. The Clio 172 about to go a lap down, so Darren Goes through in the lead of the race. Mark Flower in the number 8 BMW in 2nd. 3rd is 4th Fiesta and Kester Cook. Then it's James Britton, number 82, in 4th place. 5th place is number 23, which is Simon Clark's Porsche. 6th place is number 66, which is Christopher Mills at the wheel of the BMW. Then it's 7th place, 105, Anthony Sidney Woollett. Alistair Stenhouse, number 41, is there in 8th place. 9th place is Mike Moraes at the wheel of his Seat Leon, number 3, and completing the top 10 just before the pit window opens is car number 65, which is Warren Allen. And that's the top 10 just before the pit window opens.
Yeah, and it looks like the top 5 cars, they won't even be changing drivers, so they got to make sure they got the finish for the full 45 minutes. I say that knowing I sure as heck couldn't, but they're going to try their best. Through goes flashing his lights the number 89 car there. What's that? That's the Barnes and Norman. That was the late addition. James Barnes and William Norman. He was on a mission there trying to get through that battle that you called earlier between the big lockup, sorry, just caught my attention down at Graham Hill Bend, the 106 car. So he's still not liking that Graham Hill Bend, is he, Gary Burstow?
No, he's not. No, you were talking about that car flashing its lights. He's actually squabbling away for position now.
That was position, was it?
It is, yeah. It's for 19th, 20th and 21st position, which is the BMW just working its way onto the Cooper straight now, which is William Norman for this first section of the race, trying to keep at bay what is Ray Honeybone's Renault Clio, and then the car in hands of Paul Hatton, which is the Ford Focus. So 3 of those very much together. Our race leader is on his 9th lap, as into the pit lane has come the Volkswagen Beetle, hasn't it? That being number 53, Steve Gales.
Yeah, it wasn't sounding great as it was going past the last few laps, so I wonder whether that's more a case that he's got an issue and potentially going into retirement. As I was about to say, I thought we'd lost for a second, but we haven't. It's the Kester Cook car has come straight into the pit, so the pit lane, the pit stop window is open. Yeah. Kester Cook has decided now's the time to do it. Let's get it out of the way. Conversely, I wouldn't be surprised to see our leader, Darren Goes, pushing it all the way to the end so that everybody else has made their pit stops on the long way back.
We've also got a Ford Puma in the pit lane, which is car number 19, has trundled its way into the pit lane. So that will be Jason Francis, who is in the process of conducting his pit stop. And I think other than that, everybody else has continued out on circuit at this stage. So Kester Cook, of course, let's not forget, it's a 2-minute pit stop. So from pit in to pit out is 2 minutes, and that includes the fact that they have to drive from one end of the pit lane to the other at the regulatory 60 kilometres per hour. That will take, such as the length of the pit lane, 16.6 seconds here at Brands Hatch, which means that the pit stop in reality means the car is stationary for 1 minute 43.4 seconds.
That's very precise. I'm rather impressed by that. That's good. And they're taking the time clearly to just tweak the tyre pressures on that 93 Ford Fiesta of Kester Cook. So he's, despite the speed that he had, the closing capability he had, he's not happy with the completely happy with the settings on it. So they're just tweaking a little something. Although I had noticed that his charge had sort of faltered and he was back off of his times again. So just as he's put those laps, got the temperature on, clearly not totally happy. He's now got the opportunity to adjust that. All right, it probably won't feel great for the first lap or two, but those tyres aren't going to take long to get back up to temperature again.
No, not at all. Over the start-finish line comes Darren Goes, so it just goes to show how long it takes for this mandatory pit stop to work its way through, because going a lap down now is Kester Cook. Of course, that should work itself through as everybody else comes into the pit lane. Into the pit lane comes, from 4th position now, the Porsche Boxster of Simon Clark. So Simon Clark heads for the pit lane. He's not the only one. I think Anthony Sidney Woollett is coming in as well, is he not? Yes, indeed, he is. Car number 105. Anthony Sidney Woollett comes in from what was 5th position as Kester Cook makes his way back out onto the circuit. We've also got a Renault Clio coming in down towards the tail end of the field. That will be the number 9 car, I think. Stephen Kelly, that's it.
Yeah, so they're all starting to pile in, but they're being quite sensible about this, aren't they? Spreading it out a little bit. We're getting a few track limits warnings, so we need to be careful in the second half of this race that we're not going to suddenly see penalties dished out. 45 minutes is quite a long time if you're going to get a penalty in the early stages of the race. But I noticed that they're even cleaning the windscreen of the number 23 Porsche Boxster of Clark. Perfect opportunity to do that as well.
Absolutely, a black and white warning flag going out for our friend Gary Burstow, who has, I think, made friends with the grass on more than one occasion, hasn't he, down at Graham Hill Bend. More cars destined for the pit lane includes, by the look of things, Colin Tester. So Brands Hatch instructor Colin Tester, car number 111, brings the MR2 into the pit lane. Also heading into the pit lane is a car that was inside the top 6, which was was car number 57 coming into the pit lane. That was Gary Littlewood. He had worked himself from 26th on the grid up to inside the top 6. Yes, that was as a result of other cars coming into the pits, but that's a solid performance in the early stages of the race.
Absolutely incredible. I think there's a few that were out of position in their qualifying, and it just makes it all the more entertaining for us. We've got a new track limits warning for number 99 as well then. So which one's that? As we cast our eye down, that's the Hobson and Sharp, sat down in 27th at the moment. So they've had a track limits warning, and they've still got another 25 and a half minutes to make sure they don't get more. I think that for the Burstow car, they probably completely weren't bothered. We've got yellow flags down there at Paddack Hill Bend. Yeah, which is something out of our sight, presumably. Can't quite tell what that is. Roving reporter Mark Werrell's now going to go and find out what's going on. The only bit that we can't see on this Indy circuit, and something's clearly stopped there as our leader still ploughs on, going through the left-hander over at Surtees. Darren is heading round Surtees, up out of our sight again, picking his way through that traffic as roving reporter comes back. Mark, what do you see?
Paul Hatton's Ford Focus has retired there as well. Of course, he was having a great fight with Ray Honeybone's Renault Clio, but the number 81 Ford Focus has stopped just after the entry into the back part to the Grand Prix pits. So DG recovery unit heading down there, hopefully to scoop him up out of the way. Now, fingers crossed, with the work of our marshal, this might be able to do under localised yellows, we hope.
Yeah, perfect location to be able to do that, so a good place to stop there. So things sort of starting to work itself out for some of the Porsche Boxster's now back out there, Simon Clark, so he's now going to need to put in some powerful laps now, but he needs to be wary that he's in the middle of all sorts of traffic, but they need to make sure that they're not going to lose any space while those that were ahead of them or close to them come in to do their pit stops. What have we got? Another 9 minutes left until the pit window closes, so there's plenty of time. And as I said, I really expect Darren Goes to push this all the way to the limit as he's coming through now to complete his 12th lap. There's no reason for him to come in at the beginning, is there? He was going to hope that everybody's pretty much made theirs by the time he goes in.
Yeah, absolutely. The car number 97 is in, which is Richard Wayne in the Proton Satcher to give way to Perry Tubb. Number 5 is in, which is Mark Penny at this stage. We've now got number 66 in from what was 5th position, so that is Christopher Mills in the BMW to give way to David Garden. He's not the only one in as well, because car number 59 is in the pit lane as well. That is another changeover of driver that's occurring there. That is Neil House to give way to Andy Tate. Who else have we got in? We've also got car number 95 in as well, which is Mike Chapman, who is about to give way to John Yates. Giles Locke is in, car number 88 at the wheel of the red Volkswagen Golf. And more all of the time peeling their way into the pit lane, which also includes a sole remaining Beetle. I think number 45 is in, which is Henri Abache.
VX220 is making its way out. That's the number 5 Mark Penny car. Great to see something like that out here racing. You don't see them very often, to be honest, but great to see it.
Getting busy in the pit lane. The Team Air Supply Porsche is in. We've also got the Abnett's Peugeot in as well. So that's Abbott's Porsche, which is Dan Abbott about to give way to Ben Abbott. Car number 131 is in as well, which is Alan Lane's Renault Clio. So pit lane filling up, and also coming into the pit lane, we also see the Honda Civic Type R, which is Mark Simmons to give way to Ricky Kuma, and also coming in is the Toyota MR2, and that will be Callum McDougall to give way to Ben Simmons.
One of the other cars that's just coming in is the 33 Great Recovery Drive by Andrew Medica in that sort of turquoisey green Renault Clio 200 Cup. But the bad news is, as he comes in, he's going to see a notice that said he's got a 5-second penalty for track limits. We knew somebody would with the length of this race and the fact that the warnings were coming thick and fast early on. He's the first one, as far as I'm aware, to be hit by a penalty.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We've also got coming in from what is 5th on the road, at this stage of the race at least, which is Mike Moraes at the wheel of the black with its white and yellow flashes, Seat Leon Cup car, and so he comes in from 5th position. So top 4 haven't pitted as yet. Darren Goes leads, Mark Flower in 2nd, but starting to now erode the margin that Darren Goes had built up. The gap is down to 4 3/4 seconds between the Seat and the number 8 BMW in 2nd place. James Britton, number 82, is there in 3rd place, and up to 4th, actually at this stage, the quickest car that we've got on the road, the white and yellow number 41 BMW in the hands of Alistair Stenhouse, is the quickest car that's out there.
Yeah, he obviously got a bad start, didn't he? Because he started 5th position on the grid, but he wasn't really featuring any of the tussle, certainly for the top 5. So He lost out, but he's now, as you say, put in the fast time. As the circuit's kind of empty with there not being many parking spaces down here, he's taking advantage of it and putting in the times, trying to see if, after it shakes itself out, whether he's going to find himself a little bit higher up the grid.
More cars heading for the pit lane include the Apple Car Centre Renault Clio. That's the white car with its Dayglow orange circle to it. That is in the hands of Ray Honeybone. That comes in. It will stay in the hands of Ray Honeybone for the second part of the race, but just ahead of him in terms of positions in the race, car number 89, the BMW at 325 of William Norman comes in. James Barnes will take over that for part number 2 of the race. As the race leader is in, so into the pit lane comes Darren Goes. Now is Mark Flower going to stay out there? He is. So number 8 Mark Flower takes up the lead of the race. The number 82 BMW that's right on his coattails in the hands of James Britton now moves up into second. So the fight is on for the lead as the race winner, race leader Aswad is in.
Yeah, that surprises me that he's coming quite so soon, especially with the fact that the pit lane was so busy. I mean, other than he could turn around and say now's the time because they're all about to make their way out. I don't know. I don't suppose it makes masses of difference, does it? And he's got the speed to be able to get himself back out and into the lead. Other than the fact that Flower was closing, wasn't he? Definitely. Now, was it actually a call that was based on the fact that his tyres had gone off a little bit? I don't know.
Wait and see. So the first car that has pitted at this stage and is out there and circulating is the Ford Fiesta, number 93, in the hands of Kester Cook. So we should probably see Darren Goes get out of the pit lane ahead of that Ford Fiesta, but it's a relative gap between the two of them that is of interest at this stage. More cars heading for the pit lane. It includes the yellow Ford Fiesta that is trundling its way down the pit lane now. So that's another pit visitor. I think that's Alfie Hyde, is it, that's coming into the pit lane that time through. So that will drop him further down through the order. We've also had come in the number 65 car on that lap, which is Warren Allen at the wheel of the Ginetta G27R. Number 7 is in, which is Lewis Denslow. That was the yellow Ford Fiesta that was trundling its way down the pit lane. And who else have we had in? We have had in Jamie McHugh as well at the wheel of the white and red Porsche 944 Turbo. So more and more cars heading into the pit lane. Darren Goes, I think, has already made his way back out of the pit lane.
Don't think so, not yet.
Oh, you're right down below us, is he?
He is, yeah, unfortunately. But a great fight that's going on behind us as well. 15th, 16th is the number 48 car. Where did he start? 48. I'm trying to see it on here now.
George and Jack Wright, isn't it? Got 48.
Where did they start, though?
They started, they were down in 10th position was where they started. As into the pit lane comes the cars from from first and second place. So that now puts number 41, the white and yellow BMW, heading around through Paddack Hill Bend. Alistair Stenhouse into the lead of the race because Mark Flower has brought the number 8 BMW down the pit lane. Also number 82 James Britton has followed him down the pit lane. They're both right the way down towards the bottom of the pit lane area. Of course, they both in theory need to remain stationary for the same period of time, so neither will gain advantage in the pit stops.
Well, just going through Druids now was our leader before the pit stops really started. Darren Goes, number 22 in that Seat Leon, and just exiting now is the second position, as will be after it sorts itself out probably, is Kester Cook. That gap is a lot smaller between Kester Cook and Darren Goes, I would say.
Yeah, and it depends as to where the two cars in the pit lane feed out as well, so we'll have to keep our eyes towards the pit lane exit. Up to second now, not having pitted, comes the black BMW, number 106, who's attracted the attention, as the officials, Gary Burstow, on more than one occasion, the BMW 328i. He is 43.5 seconds behind Alistair Stenhouse, but they are, at this stage, first and second in the race, but are still as yet to pit. Other cars that haven't pitted as yet include car number 182, which is the Renault Clio of Ollie Owen, and I think that is, of all the cars that are still circulating, probably the only 3 that haven't pitted, with the pit window now just remaining open for a further 2 minutes. Yeah,
absolutely, and the car that seems to have suffered somewhat there is the number 23 Simon Clark Porsche Boxster. If this is really wangling itself out as we expect here, he's currently down in 11th place, but more importantly, he's 1, 2, 3, 4 places behind Kester Cook, who he was fighting with in that Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, drop down through the order. Here comes Alistair Stenhouse back over the start-finish line, so he's not pitting as yet. Here comes Darren Goes, who was in the lead of the race before the pit stops. The BMWs of Mark Flower and what was James Britton that were in the pit lane are now re-emerging, so Darren Goes, in theory, won't be leading the races yet, but on conclusion of the pit stops, he feeds his way back out, and then the BMWs come out at exactly the same time as Kester Cook, who is going to leapfrog them in the pits. So through goes the Ford Fiesta of Kester Cook, and then it means that Mark Flower is still fighting away with the blue BMW of James Britton, who's trying to attack up the inside as they headed towards the break area for Druids Bend. The two BMWs side by side. Kester, Cook just ahead. In theory, this will be for second, third and fourth once we've cycled through the pit stops, because we've got 3 cars in first, second and third that haven't pitted as yet.
So Britain's managed to get past Flower as he was trying to do, and I must be honest, Mark, I only saw it as they just disappeared out of my side. They were largely side by side as they were trying to exit the pits, and they had to work that out before they got to the line. Flower managed to get it that he was in front. We've got another 5-second penalty for car number 25, which is, how do you say that one? McHugh? Yeah, that would be McHugh, won't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. Jamie McHugh.
Yeah, Jamie McHugh in the Porsche 944 Turbo has a 5-second penalty for track limits, unsurprisingly. It seems to be the common one.
Car number 106 is in, which is Gary Burstow, so he comes into the pits. There are 25 seconds remaining of the pit window, so the cars that haven't pitted as yet must pit next time round. They can't go over the start-finish line past the board that says the pit is closed. The physical window can close, but they can't go past the board. Into the pit lane comes the car from third place, which is Ollie Owen. So his Renault Clio comes into the pit. So it's now only car number 41 of those that are still circulating, Alistair Stenhouse, who needs to pit. And there are only 15 minutes left. The pit window, in theory, is now closed as Alistair Stenhouse, number 41, comes over the start-finish line.
Although it's not saying that.
Right, okay, still says pit lane open at this stage, yeah. So in theory, it should close with 15 minutes to go. So we'll wait and see on that one.
Now it says closed.
Right, okay, so he's got to pit this time, otherwise he's in trouble.
See, in theory, by our calculations, he'd gone past the window by the time he went across, although it didn't quite say it. Now, maybe it opened a little bit later, I'm not sure, but he seems to have potentially he's either gone one lap past it, or he's just managed to play this game rather shrewdly.
Let's say he's timed it to perfection. The officials can work it out from there. So, in theory, it means that car number 22, Darren Goes, will take up the lead of the race again once this number 41 race-leading BMW, the only car that hasn't pitted it yet, Alistair Stenhouse, comes into the pits. He is now on his 18th lap of the race, Alistair Stenhouse, and has a full lap advantage between himself and Darren Goes, but we know that the 2 minutes you have to spend in the pit lane area means you will drop a lap. So in theory, car number 22, Darren Goes, should head back into the lead of the race by about 4.5 seconds from number 93 Ford Fiesta in the hands of Kester Cook, who currently is third on road, but of course will promote himself up to second. And then it's the two BMWs, the blue car of James Britton ahead of Mark Flower, will then ultimately occupy third and fourth place from the number 66 BMW, which will be the next up in the hands of David Gardner. And Anthony Sidney Woollett at the wheel of the Xenos, in theory, should complete the top 6 once we've cycled through these pit stops.
Which is a great performance by him, having started, what did we say, down in 9th, wasn't it? Yeah, 9th position. Yeah. That we felt was probably out of position because he only had a couple of flying laps really in qualifying. Here comes our leader, Stenhouse, number 41, has now indeed come into the pit.
Perfectly timed.
Absolutely, we'll go with that, I agree. And certainly it didn't say pit window closed on here, although it was bizarre that it then said it with 14.5 minutes to go, it then said pit closed. So not sure. Here goes our leader that has now managed to leapfrog with those pits. It is the green, white and black Seat Cup of Darren Goes.
Yeah, well, he's unlapped himself in reality, so it's next time around.
Oh, you're right, sorry.
He will need to make sure that he takes up the lead of the race. So the race leader is still the car that's in the pits at the moment, and Darren Goes is now, what in reality, 9/10 of a lap behind him, but should reassert himself into the lead on the completion of this. The gap between himself and Kester Cook had grown, but now Darren Goes finds himself amongst the traffic. That BMW, car number 89, you mentioned it was flashing its lights. Well, every time I've looked towards it, whether it be in the hands of William Norman or James Barnes, it's doing it, isn't it?
I think it's permanent.
There must be a switch.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's permanently on because I've seen it going all the way down straights and everything. But what I just wanted to point out is we got a new personal best by Kester Cook on that last lap, which is why we can see him visibly closing on the leader of Darren Goes.
That great charge from Andrew Modica up from the tail of the field from 40th to 30th at the end of just one lap is all sort of coming undone now. He might be in 26th position, but he's just handed himself a further penalty for track limits as well. So 10-second penalty now for car number 33, the light green Clio.
Yeah, I don't know where that is because I've not really normally you kind of get your eye attracted to someone really abusing the track limits, but that one hasn't been particularly catching our eye. So not sure where he's doing it. It's such a shame because it looked as though he'd resolved his issues that he had in qualifying and was absolutely flying, but as you say, he's undoing it all himself, unfortunately.
Yeah, Alistair Stenhouse, who was leading the race, still remains stationary in the pit lane at the moment, car number 41. Darren Goes should, here he comes, come up towards Clearways Corner and retake the lead of the race here, because the BMW still hasn't had the 2 minutes a lap in the pit lane area. So over the start-finish line now comes Darren Goes. So the Seat Leon goes back into the lead of the race. Number 93, the Ford Fiesta of Kester is there in second position, just 1.5 seconds adrift, closed the gap by almost a full second on that occasion between himself and the Seat that lies ahead. The blue BMW of James Britton, number 82, is there in third place. Number 8, Mark Flower, is up into fourth position, and Alistair Stenhouse, great pit tactics. He was stationary by the look of things for the correct period of time. He is now up into fifth position at the wheel of car number 41. And where did he start? He started a long way down through the... he started fifth, didn't he? So back into fifth position, I should say.
Yeah, because he obviously got an unfortunate opening lap that just put him out of contention, but he's now very close, in fairness, to Flower that sits there in fourth. And it's quite unusual to see that Britain in that number 82 is actually sort of a reasonable amount up the track from Flower, considering those two were sort of almost conjoined twins, really, weren't they, for a little while?
Yeah, absolutely. Number 66, David Gardner, is there in sixth place. Seventh place is 105, the Xenos in the hands of Anthony Sidney Wallet. The big loser was Simon Clark's Porsche Boxster, is now in eighth position following the pit stops. He was in fourth before we got to the pit stop window. Ninth place is Mike Morace, number 3 at the wheel of the Seat Leon, and completing the top 10 is number 65, and that is Warren Allen. Just to guide you through the class leaders at this stage, leading the race overall, leading Class S, is Darren Goes, the overall race leader. In third position, number 82, James Britton, leads Class A at this stage. Down in 10th position, number 65, that is the Class G leader, Warren Allen. Down in 11th position, number 7, Lewis Denslow, his yellow Ford Fiesta, leads Class B at this stage. And you look all the way down to 22nd position, car number 96, which is currently in the hands of Ricky Kuma, the Honda Civic Type R. That is the Class C leader, and the only other leader we need to pick up on is car number 19, which is the Class D leader. He's the only car in that class. It's not surprising, but he's going well. Jason Francis at the wheel of the Puma.
Yeah, I think that Darren Goes suddenly realised that Kester was indeed closing on him, because he suddenly upped his speed again there, and he was about a tenth quicker. We've actually got 41, the car number 41, stop-go penalty of 1 minute, pit stop infringement. Now, which one's that? That's Stenhouse.
I wonder why.
Yeah, so we thought he probably went that lap too long, didn't we? And it would appear that he has.
Yeah.
A 1 minute pit stop, you know, that's a stop-go of 1 minute. That's monstrous, really, isn't it? Including the going in and back out again. So that, what was he? He's running in fifth. He's 25 seconds. Oh, of course, sorry, it's a 1 minute pit stop. I was thinking of a stop-go for a second.
No.
Yeah, he's lost out massively. He's going to be tumbling right the way out of contention now.
He'll be down into the teens, low teens, if not into the 20s by the look of things.
Oh,
yeah,
devastating.
We did think that there was less than 15 minutes to go at the point he came over the start-finish line. It may well be that maybe his pit stop was too short. You know, it's the way the regulations are written, but from our perspective, it looked as though he stopped outside of the window, and clearly the officials have picked up on some sort of infringement, and therefore it's for a penalty. Whereas if it was outside the window, in theory, he hasn't gained anything, has he? He's just transgressed the regulations.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do the crime, you do the time.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. At 1 minute stop go, you're not gaining anything by going late. But if he's gone too short in his stop, then that is, you are gaining something. So yeah, that does make sense. I don't know. We'll possibly find out at some point.
Yeah, either way, it's going to drop the number 41 white and yellow BMW right the way down through the order. Over the start-finish line comes our race leader. Darren Goes now completes lap number 20. Kester Cook charging at the wheel of the Ford Fiesta, but falls away to the tune of another 1/10 of a second on that lap. He still, however, has 4 seconds in hand between himself and the blue BMW of James Britton that's there in third place, with Mark Flower in fourth position. Alistair Stenhouse, despite the 1 minute penalty, has just posted the fastest lap of the race at 44.082 from a car that is destined for a 1 minute stop-go penalty in a few laps' time.
Yeah, and I'm hoping he's seen it, because it's come off of this digital display in front of us. It's not showing it to him anymore. Whether that, I mean, I'm assuming he's still got that penalty. There are boards being hung out there, but unless they've removed it, otherwise we've got to hope that he has actually seen it.
Still been hung out, I think, yeah.
But it's gone off of the digital display up there for him to be able to see. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see whether he comes in. But he's going out with a flourish if he is, with that new fastest lap of the race. Isn't
I think the black flag was also being shown to Andrew Monica. Well, we know already he has got a 10-second penalty, and that is going to drop the light green car through the order. I have a feeling you've just spotted it on the screen, that we've lost a Renault Clio somewhere. Is that car number 59 potentially? Which would be Andy Tate's car that we've lost. We just saw it briefly on the screens. It looked like a blue and yellow one to me. Thank you very much. More coffee has arrived. I like that. That number 59 car was running in 20th position, right, and is dropping down through the order. So yeah, so we've lost the number 59 car. That was on the run in between. That was on the run in between Hawthorne and Westfield, wasn't it, where we saw that car, I think?
Yeah, and quite a smoke. So it's a mechanical issue. And it was the smoke I saw before the car, although that was only because the car was tucked by the barrier. They'd already managed to get it quite sneakily out of the way, but what a shame. What a time to do it with only less than six minutes remaining on the 45-minute race.
They've got, 2.5, almost 3 months to sort it out, though, because the final round of this championship takes place here at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit over the course of the 12th of November, which, if memory serves me right, is another meeting I'll be at. We've got a drive-through penalty for track limits this time for car number 33. That's why Andrew Modica was being shown the black flag. So he didn't heed the first warning, which was just a warning. He didn't heed the second warning, which was a 5-second penalty. He didn't heed the third warning even, which was a 10-second penalty. So he might get the message with this fourth one, a drive-through penalty, the order of the day. And of course, for car number 41, just confirmation on the timing screens for the car that currently runs 5th overall and is 2nd in its class. Alistair Stenhouse has got a 1-minute stop-go penalty for a pit infringement, is what it's showing. New fastest lap of the race, 2-hour race leader, car number 22, the Seat Cup car in the hands of Darren Goes on the completion of lap number 21, posted a new best time of the race of a 1 minute 43.886. That extends the margin between himself and the number 93 Bigskidz Racing Ford Fiesta in the hands of Kester Cook up to 2.7 seconds, who now has 4.7 seconds in hand between himself and James Britton's BMW, who is there in 3rd as the red lights come on and bring a halt to the race, which, looking through the various parts of the circuit,
the number 33's done more than the track limits.
Andrew Modica, yes, okay. He's found the track limits again, hasn't he? That Clio is not in a safe place, and with 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go, Chris, I think I know what's going to happen. We're past 75% distance, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like he's just got that beach just the other side of the barriers, so there's not a lot, and it is indeed, because they're waving them through the back of the paddock here so they can get the cars off. That's just off the edge of the circuit, isn't it, there? So there's no way that he's going to be able to recover that one. And yes, he may have been pushing the track limits, that one just a little bit too far, and no recovering. At least he can't be claimed that it did him any advantages. Now, what's going to happen about the number 41 car of Stenhouse, because he's not taken his 1 minute stop-go penalty?
I would imagine